If you've ever run ads for your med spa and you felt like the leads you were getting were just a bunch of discount shoppers, bargain hunters, tire kicker leads, people who came in for the deal, they had no intention of ever spending any real money with you, and then they just simply disappeared, whether they ghosted you or told you they weren't interested. I want you to know that that frustration is valid. And we talk with a lot of medical spas and a lot of other aesthetic providers that say the same thing. But the reason it happened is probably not what you think. Most med spa owners that I talk to, they tend to blame the offer. And so they say their agency, they talk them into running some kind of like discounted promotion, a cheap first session, maybe like a bundled introductory package or promotion of some sort, something with a low barrier to entry. And that is what attracted the low quality people. And I get why that conclusion makes sense, because if you run a discount or you run some kind of introductory promotion, you're going to attract discount shoppers. Like, it seems the most logical. But here's what I've actually seen working inside of dozens of the most successful med spas and aesthetic practices. The offer is rarely ever the problem. The offer is just what gets somebody to raise their hand in the first place. What happens after that is what determines whether that person actually becomes a loyal, high value client, or just that one time transaction who comes in, they get the introductory promotion, and you never see them again, right? And in most med spas, what happens after the lead comes in is either extremely chaotic, there's no structure to it, it's incomplete, so you're not doing everything you need to be doing, or it's non existent, there is no process whatsoever. There's no real system for filtering out the people who aren't a good fit before they ever sit in your chair. There's no structured consultation process designed to actually convert serious patients into long-term treatment plans. And there's also almost no intentional follow-up being done with the leads who didn't convert the first time around. And so because of that, the leads felt bad, and we determined that the leads were low quality. But the leads weren't the problem. It was the system, or the lack of a system, that was the actual problem. And so in this video, I'm going to walk you through what I call the filter consult follow-up system. These are three specific places where most med spas either convert leads into loyal clients who come back time and time again, or quietly leak revenue without ever realizing it. And if you fix all three of these, you'll get more out of every lead that you're already generating from your marketing without having to spend any extra money on ads or on any marketing platform. And if you only fix one or two of these, you'll still see a meaningful difference. So with that said, let's just get right into it. Step number one of this process is to filter. And so we need to stop wasting time on consultations with the wrong people. And so the first place that med spas leak revenue is before the appointment even happens. And this is one of those ones that most people never really think about, because they're so focused on getting more leads. We're all just so hyper focused on how can we get more and more people in our area interested in our business in the first place. And what that ends up leading into is a lot of them haven't stopped to think about what they're actually doing with those leads once they have them, and once they've actually put their hand up and said they're interested. Because here's the reality: not every person who fills out a form for your introductory offer or promotion is a good fit for what you're actually trying to sell, whether that be a package, a treatment plan, or a membership. Some of them will be genuinely motivated. They will have like a real problem that they want to solve. They're willing to invest in a treatment plan of some sort, and they're going to become a great long-term client who comes back time and time again over several years or so. Others are simply just curious. They just want a little bit more information, or they just want the first cheap deal. They saw the deal, they filled out the form, they have no real intention of committing to anything beyond that first discounted visit. And the problem is that most med spas treat both of those types of people the same exact way. So they use the same follow-up, the same booking process, the same consultation, and then they wonder why their close rates are super low, so people coming in are not buying packages, and why their no-show rates are so high, because they're booking in people who weren't that serious in the first place. What the best med spas do differently is they filter before the appointment ever even happens. And so they put a few simple things in place, which I'm going to talk about here, that naturally separate the serious people from the tire kickers before anyone ever sits down in their chair. And so here's what that actually looks like in practice. So the first thing that we need to do to filter out those bad fits is we need to send educational content before the appointment happens. So when a new lead comes in, doesn't matter where it comes from, instead of just immediately trying to book them in for an appointment, you want to send them some educational content first. And so this could be maybe a short video explaining the treatment that they're interested in, something that sets realistic expectations around the treatment, how many sessions are necessary to typically see the results that they're looking for, what does the process actually look like when they come in, what kind of commitment is involved, so on and so forth. The reason we want to do this is because it accomplishes two things at once. First off, it pre-educates the serious people, so they show up to the consultation actually already bought into your process. And then the second thing is that it quietly filters out anybody who is just looking for like a quick one and done fix, because those people will see that this requires a real commitment and they will just self-select themselves out. And that is the best thing that we could possibly have happen, is for people to decide that it's not a good fit for them before they ever waste your time. You didn't have to reject them yourself in person. They simply just rejected themselves, and you saved yourself a consultation slot on your calendar as well. Now, step 2 from there is we need to ask qualifying questions in the booking flow. And so before someone can book the appointment, we want to ask them a few simple questions, whether you do this in like a little quiz, like an interactive quiz that people can fill out, or just a simple form that they fill out before they put their hand up and say they're interested, such as what's the main concern you're hoping to address? Or you can make it multiple choice, like select the areas that you're interested in treating. How long have you been dealing with this issue? Have you gotten aesthetic treatments before? Are you looking for a one-time treatment or a long-term solution? These are just a handful of examples. I wouldn't use all of these, and you want to be strategic with the types of questions that you're asking here. But the thing is, you're not trying to just be difficult or create a bunch of friction in your process just for the sake of creating friction. You're just gathering information that tells you who you're actually dealing with and if this person's going to be serious. Somebody who fills out those questions is signaling that they are potentially serious, and someone who won't even take the 15 seconds to click those buttons and fill out the form, they're probably not your ideal client anyways. And so the great thing about these types of questions is that the sheer existence of them weeds out a lot of those price shoppers. So simply just by having those questions be a roadblock before they can actually get to your calendar, you will automatically weed out a lot of the people who weren't going to be serious in the first place. That information, it also arms whoever's going to actually be running the consultation at your clinic with everything that they need to get the conversation started. Step 3 from there is getting a real human on the phone before they ever come in. And so this isn't just like a voice AI bot or like an automated text sequence. I personally have not had good experiences with the voice AI chats, and so we use all real humans. But we want to have an actual person on your team who's making calls, having a 2 to 3, maybe 5-minute conversation with this person and understanding their situation to confirm that they're actually a good fit before they ever walk through the door or before they get access to your calendar. This is especially important with cold leads. So people that came from platforms like Meta, so Instagram and Facebook, Google, TikTok, all of those. This isn't a sales call. So we're not trying to sell anything to anybody on this call. You're not trying to literally close anything aside from the deposit that you're going to be collecting. You're just making sure that the person coming in actually wants what you provide and is actually a good fit for it. Beyond just filtering, because one of the greatest benefits of getting people on the phone is that we get to filter more people out, this call also starts to build the relationship. So by the time that that person shows up for their appointment, they've already talked to someone at your practice, they already feel like they know you a little bit, and that changes the entire energy of the consultation before it ever begins. You're no longer just this like faceless brand that they saw on Facebook or Instagram, but there's actual real people behind this, right? Now, when you put all 3 of those things together, educational content, qualifying questions, and then pre-appointment calls, what you end up with is a much smaller pool of people walking through your door, but a dramatically higher percentage of them who are actually ready to have a serious conversation about the treatment plan. And as you can see here, if we have these 3 things in place, it doesn't really matter what your introductory promotion is. Now, I wouldn't recommend going and advertising things for like dirt cheap, because that tends to set the expectation that things are going to be dirt cheap moving forward. However, with that said, you can still use a low ticket introductory promotion to get a ton of people interested. And then as long as you have this process on the back end, a lot of the people that submitted their information that were just looking for the cheap thing, they just naturally get weeded out, and you only keep the people who were actually serious and have the money to move forward with something bigger. From here, your show rate is going to go up, your close rate is going to go up, and your team stops wasting time on people who are never actually going to buy anything. But with all that said, getting the right people in the door, that's only half the battle, because even with the most qualified people in the chair, if your consultation isn't structured to actually convert them into a package, a treatment plan, or a long-term client, then you're still going to be leaving money on the table. And you're only ever going to get the few people that were like, they've already decided before they showed up. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about doing next. So step 2 is the consultation itself. And so this is our SPA framework that converts people from, curious or just a little bit of interest into an actual package or treatment plan. Now, the consultation is where real money is made or lost. It's not in the ad itself. It's not in the offer. It's not even in the follow-up itself. Right here in this conversation, this is where a motivated lead either becomes a long-term high-value client, or they walk out of the door with just their introductory treatment and nothing else. And the biggest mistake that I see a lot of med spas make in the consultation is that they skip directly to presenting. So somebody sits down and then basically you do like a super short assessment. You get some like very base level problems that they're dealing with. And then immediately you're just like, all right, here's our package, here's the pricing, here's what we would recommend for your specific situation. Would you like to buy this? And then what happens when you do that is you're surprised when the person says they need to think about it, or they need to talk to their spouse, or they just want to start with the first treatment. They just want to start with treatment number one, do the introductory promotion, and then they'll take it from there. That resistance isn't coming from the price, right? It's likely not a price issue in that case, or you don't know if it is. It's coming from the fact that the person sitting across from you doesn't feel fully understood yet. You haven't really run them through a true consultation. And when people don't feel understood, they don't buy. It's that simple. If someone doesn't feel understood, they are not going to move forward. So the framework that we use and that we teach to our clients is called the SPA framework. And so SPA stands for start with discovery, present the possibilities, and ask for commitment. These are 3 phases that we try to structure in that order every single time to get the best outcomes. And so just to quickly go over those, phase 1 is starting with discovery. So before you show anybody anything, you need to understand what actually brought them in the first place. And so this isn't just like the surface level answer like, oh, I wanted to reduce fat in this area, or oh, I have some wrinkles on my forehead and they've been bothering me, right? You need to understand the real version of what they're saying. Like, what does that actually mean? How long have they been dealing with this problem? What have they already tried to solve it? Why is now a good time for them? What made them finally decide to do something about it today? Is there like an event that they have coming up, or is there like a milestone or something that's making this feel a little bit more urgent and making them want to do it right now? The intake form, it gives you a really good starting point for this conversation, but the conversation is where you actually go a lot deeper into each of these problems. What you're doing in this phase, it's not just gathering information. You're not just trying to write a whole bunch of stuff down. You're helping the person across from you articulate their own problem way more clearly than they could have ever done on their own or before they came in to see you. And when someone feels that heard, when they feel like you actually get what they're dealing with, the dynamic of the entire conversation changes. And so you stop being a salesperson in this case, and you start to be a trusted advisor, and they look up to you as someone that they want to take advice from. And that's kind of the whole point of this in the first place. And it turns it from this like salesy thing into something where you're a true trusted advisor that people want to listen to. So phase 2 from there, after we do discovery, is we present the possibilities. So now that you understand their situation, you can actually show them something meaningful. And so you educate them on what's causing their concern in simple terms, not just like this medical jargon, not like a lecture that you're going to give them on, oh, here's how collagen works in these areas, blah, blah, blah. No, just a clear visual explanation of what's happening and why the treatments you're recommending actually address those problems. And here's an important piece of this phase that a lot of practices skip, is that you need to be honest about what the introductory offer can and can't do, because we're still assuming here, let's say that you use some kind of introductory promotion to get this person in the chair in the first place. If the discounted first treatment or the introductory package that you're using is a great starting point, but it won't get them the result that they're describing on its own, then you need to tell them that. You need to be honest about that. You need to show them what a full treatment plan or package looks like and what they can realistically expect at each stage of it as well. So this is something that I would highly recommend using, but before and afters with a timeline are incredibly powerful here. Not just like a simple like before and after where you say, here's someone's before and here's someone's after, but you could show them like, hey, after treatment 1, this is what it looked like. After treatment 2, this is what it looked like. After 4, after 5, after 6, this is what it looked like. So they can see like a visual progression, because the visual progression of that makes the investment make sense in a way that no price sheet is ever going to make it make sense. Like if you just tell people you need 6 treatments, it's like, oh, well, it sounds like they're trying to sell me something. But if you can show them why they need 6 treatments visually, then they're going to go, oh, okay, that makes sense. I need 6 treatments, not just 1. Then you ask them one simple question before you move forward with explaining anything about pricing or what you would actually recommend. You say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel that this plan would help you reach your goal? And so you kind of educate them on what you think would be best for them. You show them the visual progression, and then you ask them, how confident do you feel that this would help you achieve XYZ goal or solve the problems that you mentioned? If they say like maybe like a 6 or a 7, then you need to ask them, okay, not a problem. What would make it a 10, right? And then you address whatever it is right then and there. Maybe they feel a little bit uncertain about the process. Maybe they've heard horror stories about microneedling or whatever they're there for, and you need to address those things before we talk about pricing. If they say an 8 or higher, then you have everything you need to move into the quote unquote close. And this is where we talk about the package or the moving forward part of it. So from here, we want to ask for commitment. And I want to be really clear about this in terms of like what this phase is and what it isn't, because a lot of people, when in this phase, they start to themselves feel like they're being salesy. And so this is not a high pressure sales pitch. And if it feels like one, then it probably is one. And so this is also not a manipulation tactic whatsoever. If you've done phase 1 and phase 2 correctly, presenting the package or the treatment plan at this point, it's not pushy. It's literally just the logical next step in the conversation. And if you've structured this right, then you've gotten their permission to show them this part in the first place. And so at this point, you understand the problem that they're trying to solve more deeply. They understand the solution that you recommend to them. And so the only thing left to do is to help them decide how they would like to move forward. And so from here, what we want to do is we want to present the plan that you'd recommend for their specific situation and explain why we would recommend that. And so what I would recommend to help people make the decision to move forward, because most people would rather stay where they are than actually make a big decision that could help them. And so we need to give them some incentives to move forward today. And so the first thing is to include a same day incentive. And so one of the easiest ones that you can do is you can roll today's introductory treatment or package into the package so that they're not paying for it twice. And then you can also throw in some meaningful bonuses if they decide to move forward today. And you can offer some kind of confidence guarantee, so there's no real risk in saying yes. And now with guarantees, you obviously cannot make guarantees around medical outcomes, but you can structure guarantees in a way where people feel more comfortable moving forward. When I say roll today's introductory treatment, let's say they came in for like a promotion that was $150 or something like that, then you can say, hey, I want to give you today's treatment for free. And so what we'll do is we'll take that $150 and we'll roll it into the package. That would bring the package price down to whatever it is. The goal here is to make the bigger thing that you're trying to sell, so the package or the treatment plan or whatever it is, seem so much better than the introductory thing that they came in for, that it will not only help them achieve their goals more efficiently, but it's also going to feel like an absolute no-brainer. And so we want to really dress up the big thing with all of these bells and whistles and bonuses and the guarantee and the same day incentives and all of that, because we want someone to go like, oh my gosh, like I would feel stupid not moving forward with this second way better option, even though it is more expensive than the introductory promotion. And then from there, we want to give them a simple choice between two options, not some kind of open-ended decision or question in a vacuum. And so what we want to use here is what's called an A/B close. And an A/B close is simply where we say, would you prefer to use option 1 or would you prefer to move forward with option 2? That is far easier for someone to answer and make a decision about, rather than just like, oh, so what do you want to do? Or do you want to move forward? Because those are more loaded questions. But if we say, hey, would you prefer option A or option B? It's a lot easier to pick one. And then on top of that, if the end price, if the final price is an issue, then you should absolutely provide financing to make it an easier yes as well. And the great thing about those platforms is that a lot of the times you can say, hey, no worries, if pricing is an issue, then we can make the pricing today zero. Like we can get you started today for $0 if you finance through Cherry, and they have zero interest financing if you do it over 6 months or something like that. And so you literally pay $0 today, and then your first payment would be this much smaller number. Does that feel more palatable? And that's a lot easier for some people to move forward. And so I would recommend trying to go for the package sale in the beginning, and then you can always downsell into financing, because with financing you're still going to get the full amount on the front end anyways, and it makes it a little bit easier for some people who are more hesitant to move forward with like a big purchase. And before you let anyone leave without committing to something, you want to always book the next appointment. Even if they decided not to buy the package today, and even if they said that they need to think about it or something, you want to always get something on the calendar before they walk out the door, because a lead with a future appointment is still an opportunity, but a lead who walked out with nothing scheduled is almost certainly gone. And so it's difficult to get people to actually show up for follow-ups unless there's some kind of incentive to do so. And so we want to also include an incentive for them to show up to the follow-up visit as well. And so if somebody doesn't move forward, you want to have something in your back pocket that you can use in order to get them interested in coming in for that next appointment. Now, if you want to go deeper on the full consultation process, I do have an entire video breaking it down step by step. I'll go ahead and link it in the description and also link it on the video now. But even just implementing those core pieces of the SPA framework, it's going to significantly change the results that you're seeing in your consultation. Now, the consultation, that just handles the people who are in front of you right now, but what about everybody else, right? What about the leads who never ended up booking in, the people who came in once and disappeared, the people who bought a package 3, 6, 12 months ago and they haven't ever been back? That is where the third part of the system comes in. And if I can be completely honest, it might be the highest ROI thing that I'm going to say in this entire video. So let's move to that now. So step 3 here is the follow-up. So this is the highest ROI thing that you're not currently doing. So most med spas, they have a follow-up strategy that looks something along the lines of this. A lead comes in or shows interest. You call them once, maybe you call them twice, you text them once or twice, they don't respond, and then you move on to the next person. Or maybe somebody comes in for the introductory treatment, they don't buy a package and you never talk to that person ever again. Or a client buys a package, they finish their treatments, and then they just disappear and you never hear from them again. And you never do anything about it because you're busy, your front desk is busy, and there are new leads coming in that feel more urgent than the ones that already went cold and that you've determined are stale or not serious. I understand why this happens, but I want to show you what that's actually costing you. And so just to give you an example, we recently ran a reactivation campaign just a couple of weeks ago for one of our clients. And this was a med spa that had a list of leads that had shown interest at some point. They filled out a form of some point, at some point. Maybe they even came in and had the conversation initially, but they didn't convert, or these are just people that haven't been back to them in a really long time. These leads had just been sitting there stagnant inside of their business and nobody was reaching out to them. Nobody was doing anything with them. And as far as most people would be concerned, these leads were quote unquote dead, like they were just missed opportunities. But in the span of just 2 weeks, we booked 35 appointments from that list. 35 people who had already shown interest, who already knew the practice existed, but they just needed a little bit of a nudge. They just needed the right message at the right time in order to come back. And also that 35, that's not counting the people who literally called their front desk directly because of that campaign. We haven't even fully tracked the numbers yet because they were getting a ton of calls directly to their front office. And so the number is a lot bigger than 35 appointments. That's just what we were able to track on our end so far. That is recovered revenue, right? That's revenue that was already paid for when those leads were generated. And so whether you're running ads on Facebook or Instagram or wherever the leads came from, you already paid the money to get those people interested, right? This is just revenue that's just sitting inside of the business going absolutely nowhere unless you do something with it. And it would have never existed if nobody had reached out to those people in the first place. But here's the thing, the reason why most follow-up fails and the reason why med spas usually try it like once or twice and then they give up on it and they say, oh, like text marketing or email marketing doesn't work that well is because they're doing it wrong. They're treating follow-up like they're chasing people around or like they're pestering somebody who already said no and who isn't interested. And so the message often feels desperate. Like, hey, I'm just checking in. Hey, do you still want to come in for this thing? Hey, we have availability this next week. Or hey, we only have a couple spots left. Nobody responds to messages like that. And when nobody responds, the assumption is that the lead is dead and that follow-up just simply doesn't work and that we shouldn't bother doing it. But that's not even what good follow-up looks like in the first place. Good follow-up isn't chasing, it is just staying present in their life. So let me explain what I mean by that. It's showing up consistently in someone's life with something genuinely useful to them. Maybe it's educational content about the treatments that they were interested in. Maybe it's a patient success story. Maybe it's answers to the questions that most people have, but they're not asking. Information that helps them make a better decision when they are ready to make that decision. Here's the thing, you're not trying to force somebody to make a decision. You're just making sure that when they are ready to move forward, and a lot of people who aren't ready today will be ready in the future, you want to make sure that you are the practice that they think of first and that you are the one that has been providing all this value to them over time. And this applies to literally everyone in your business. And so who should you actually be following up with? Well, not just the leads who never booked. You want to also follow up with the people who came in for the introductory treatment and didn't move forward with a package. The clients who finished a treatment plan 6 months ago and haven't been back since. You want to follow up with those people. The people who booked a consultation and no-showed for whatever reason. You want to follow up with them. Every single one of these people and every person inside of the business is a potential future client if you stay in their life in the right way. And so you want to think about what your lead list actually represents. Every person on that list cost you money to acquire. So you paid for that person, you paid for that attention, whether it was through ads, through marketing, or whether it was even through like organic social media, that's through somebody's time. Most of that investment is sitting completely dormant because nobody is doing anything with it. And so a consistent value-driven follow-up system turns that dormant list of leads into a revenue stream that runs alongside everything else that you're doing without spending another dollar into ads to generate new leads. And here's what I want you to take away from all three of these pieces together. Better filtering means that the right people are sitting in your chair. Better consultations mean that more of the right people commit to a real treatment plan or package. And better follow-up means that the people who didn't convert the first time or the second time or the third time eventually do convert. All three of those things compound onto each other, and all three of them work on the leads that you're already generating right now. And so you don't need more leads. You don't need to put more into your ad budget. You just need a better system for the leads that you already have. Okay. And so how do all three of these things work together? So I just want to zoom out for a second and take a look at what this actually adds up to. Right now, most med spas are running their business almost entirely on new leads. And so every single month they need new people, new interest coming in because the ones who came in last month or the month before that either didn't convert, they didn't come back, or they were never properly followed up with in the first place. And so they keep spending more on ads and increasing their budget or chasing new leads or switching agencies or switching companies and trying new strategies. They keep hoping that the next campaign is the one that's finally going to bring in the right people and crack the code and change everything for them. And then the cycle just repeats. And what I see, what happens with a lot of the med spas in the space right now, is they will hire an agency to do this all for them, generate them leads. They don't have this process in place. They just churn through all of their leads, and then they say, oh, this agency is the problem, and they fire the agency, and then they go find a new one. But I can promise you right now, a new agency isn't the thing that is going to fix your problem. It is building these back-end systems in the first place to fix the problem. The Filtr consult follow-up system, it breaks that cycle for you. So not by replacing your marketing still matters, but by making everything that your marketing is already doing actually work the way that it is supposed to. And so when you filter properly, you stop wasting consultation slots on people who are never going to buy. When your consultation is structured around discovery first and presenting second, you stop getting, oh, I need to think about it, I need to talk to my spouse, and you start getting people who commit because they genuinely feel understood and they can see a clear path to the result that they want. And when you follow up with everybody, not just the fresh leads, not just the new interests, but the stagnant ones, the one-timers, the people who went quiet, you turn a list that most practices treat as dead into a source of revenue that costs you literally nothing extra to generate. None of this requires a bigger ad budget, and none of it requires a new offer or a lower price point or a new agency. It requires a better system for what happens after someone raises their hand and says that they're interested. That is all that it requires. And so if you want us to do all of this, the filtering process, the consult framework, the follow-up system, if you want it all built and managed, completely done for you, and you only want to pay for the patients who actually show up and pay you first, then go ahead and click the link down in the description below. That is exactly what we do for our clients. We build the system, we run it for you, and you only pay when it actually works. And so if that sounds like something worth a conversation, the link is down there for you. And then otherwise, if you want to keep going deeper on any of the pieces that we covered today, the full consultation breakdown is linked below as well. I have a full walkthrough of how to run profitable meta ads for your med spa. I'll link that there as well. Both are worth your time if you're serious about growing your practice. And if you did get something out of this video, feel free to leave a comment below. Let me know which of those three pieces was the biggest gap in your business right now and what you're going to do to fix it. So I will see you in the next video.